BXWDY, mate. How are we, brother?
Yeah, good, man. Good.
Oh, mate, I think previous episode I had like a really impeccable slap as well. We got to do that again. How's your day been, man?
Yeah, it's been good, bro. We were just working on merch today, and yeah, now I'm here.
And what's your merch line? Is it BAO Collective?
Yeah, BAO Collective. So that's me and my DJ partner Tao. So
Yeah.
Bowdy and Tao make BAO, and we just love food, bro. So
BAO chow.
yeah, BAO's a kind of like Asian bun that you can eat. So yeah.
No, I love it, mate. Very original. I mean, who doesn't love a BAO chow?
Yeah,
Sounds pretty good, man.
Yeah.
But for you joining me in today's conversation, or for people listening in, this is Season 3, Episode 3 of Couch in the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. And on today's episode, Bowdy is going to be joining me in conversation. We're going to be talking about the topic of when the music stops. Now, I reached out to Bowdy a couple months ago.
Yeah, man.
And I think you were doing like a Q&A on your story on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you were just asking people saying, ask me anything.
Yeah.
And a mate of mine saw someone message you saying, would you ever be interested in going on a podcast?
Yeah.
And you said, oh, bro, I'm pretty busy at the moment, but when I'm free, I'm so keen.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me going, you should get this guy on the show. This would be awesome. And I saw your stuff. I'm like, bloody hell, let's go. So, yeah, it's a privilege to have you on the show, mate. I know some of the stuff you've been talking to me and behind the scenes, you struggled a little bit. A few things you probably haven't really openly spoken about. So I'm going to give this, it's a safe space to open up and talk about anything. And at any point you want to get rid of stuff, we'll get rid of it, bro. But it's just a place to vent, get it off your chest, because we just need to keep doing this in the world, man. Make a world a better place. So 100%. I'll hand it over to you, man. And I'll just ask questions along the way, brother.
Yeah, easy. So basically, I've been on a fair few podcasts before, and I haven't really had the opportunity to explain kind of like what my upbringing really was like. And I've chatted about it like online multiple times, and I've told people kind of like the story, but it hasn't been until about the last year or two that my real kind of following kind of grown, where I don't really care too much about numbers, but it was more people were interested about the actual story rather than,
story of what you've been through in the past.
Yeah, man. So growing up, I didn't have a lot of money. We're quite a poor family. We moved from Samoa, so I was born in Samoa.
Yeah, nice.
Moved from Samoa to New Zealand for a better future. And yeah, like my parents split when I was super young, so I've never had to experience like having parents together. But I also never got to experience like the actual side effects or the effects of parents splitting, so like the actual action of parents splitting. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, bro, because it happened at such a young age, did it really affect you as, say, for example, someone who is going through that process where the parents are breaking up and they might be in their late teens? Yeah. It'd be a different effect, surely.
Yeah, man, it's super like different, because to me, in my head, and I remember thinking about this at a real young age, like when my friends used to come to me and be like, oh, yeah, like I'm not really in a good place, my parents are splitting, I'm just like, oh, like
it is what it is.
Yeah, that was my first kind of thought, and I was like, oh, well, I've always just not had parents like be together, so I never really understood the whole idea of, oh no, my parents are splitting, this is not a good thing. Because in my head, it's like, man, if your parents are happier without each other, then that you should just let it happen. Like, it's not your say. But
yeah, like the doom and gloom side doesn't come out to the forefront.
Yeah, but I kind of grew and I understood that everyone experiences things differently, and it wasn't my place to say because I never experienced it. So
yeah,
I can always try and be as understanding as possible when it comes to these kind of things. But yeah, so that was my first kind of like a deep thought as a child.
That first moment of realization. Yeah.
And growing up, my parents are split. My dad worked in the meatworks as
like an abattoir.
Yeah,
cool,
so
man.
Just cutting up bulls and shit, or
jeez,
like cows.
Do you reckon it would have put him off eating meat?
No, he'd come home with like meat and like horns of cows and
freebies.
Yeah, he'd be like proud. So like we'd always have these sharp knives and stuff that we never touched around the house. But yeah, he would do that, but he would also like his routine was work, drink, sleep, work, and that was like all he ever did. So I think that was something that my mum got over. It's like he didn't like his drinking, and he didn't like him just drinking and working and not really caring for the family. So yeah, he did all that, and then they split, and yeah, he kind of got like a bit abusive as well. He got really abusive actually.
Like physically and mentally.
Yeah, yeah. So my dad went kind of off the rails, and he was just drinking himself silly, like a lot of the time, and his mobility as well was kind of like deteriorating because he had a bike accident, like his left leg, I think it is, or maybe his right.
Shit, what happened?
He had a bike accident from drink driving. So don't drink drive, guys. And,
so it's all a part of that routine that he was used to because he was just used to that excessive drinking that.
Yeah, and my dad was really like affiliated with a lot of like the bikie gangs in New Zealand.
Wow.
So he was like hanging out with like the Mung Mob HQ boys and the presidents and all that kind of stuff, and like Black Power in Auckland and then Mung Mob and Puriroa. So
did it cross your mind that you felt uncomfortable with all this stuff happening behind the scenes? Did your family feel fearful at times?
No, because it was kind of natural, like because we came from poorer neighbourhoods, and that's kind of just the influence that we have there. So there was never like a time where I was like, man, I'm like, this is a really nice neighbourhood that we live in, like it was always kind of like, man, this is a shithole.
It's a part of normality for you guys.
Yeah. Man. So that's all we knew, and it was better than what we came from. So it was like there was no complaints, and it was always like that's the island away as well. Like you should be lucky that you're here in New Zealand. You should be thankful that we have food and we have shelter and all that kind of stuff. And I always was, but it was always kind of like, man, I wanted more, But yeah, so he went off the rails and his leg was deteriorating, and my mum just left, so he had to look after me and my youngest sister at the time.
Wow.
So he was just like, not doing too well, and then so from pretty much there up until I was about 13, maybe 14, like he would beat us, or he would beat me every day. So.
And what sort of point do you reckon he's trying to prove for that to make you become a stronger man for that?
I don't think it was that. It was more of a I don't know how to deal with my emotions, so I'm just going to let them out on you sort of thing. Yeah. So like even to this day, my dad's still upset that my mum left him 20 something years ago, Holds on to it. Yeah, man, he's held on to it and like never let it go.
As you're saying, he probably never had that moment where he could actually speak and talk about his emotions. Probably brought up in that society where in that, what do you call it, that demographic where you don't really talk about your emotions, and the way you deal with stuff is through verbality and physicality.
Yeah, but that turns to anger, and
exactly
anger turns to nothing good. So that's also one thing that like I really preach among the islander community is to speak out and speak out of the norm as well, because a lot of these kids are growing up in areas and like families where you don't need to speak. You don't.
It's a part of life. Yeah.
And they're like, this is the normal. Like, it's normal to suffer.
I mean, coming from that sort of community, man, how do you think you can change it? What do you think the first step is to be?
I think the first step is acceptance, man.
Yeah.
Like, accepting that you feel the way that you feel. And it's hard because a lot of islanders are like, nah, I'm sweet. Like, I don't, I've got my boys, I've got my family, I've got all our needs.
Got the USOs.
Yeah. When it's really, there's more to life than just, church, God, family, and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can be happy without being selfish, and sometimes you need to be, because the people who are holding you down the most are being selfish,
Yeah. And fast forward from going through this sort of scenario and growing up in this environment where the only way you deal with things is through yelling at people and getting physical. Yeah. And that's, as you said, that's a part of your culture. How did you get into DJing, man?
So that was a wild ride. So from a really young age, I had a lot of anger issues, and people see me now and they're like, I can't imagine you being like an angry person, but I used to have a really short temper, and it wasn't until I started playing footy and I had my first girlfriend, and I stopped hanging out with drop kicks and changed my environment that I started actually being a half decent human. And the way I got into DJing, actually, I was in the mines.
Hey, what were we doing in the mines, man?
Yeah, I was just working in the mines and
doing a bit of labouring.
yeah, man. I was so.
Oh yeah.
So for the majority of my adult career was a scaffolder, but
that's the standard Samoan.
Yeah, man. It was so
job.
I hated it.
Don't blame you, man.
Oh man, but I got my tickets and I got my pay raises, so I can't complain.
That's it.
But the reason I was in the mines actually wasn't for scaffolding. It was for like a geography company.
Real?
Yeah,
what
bro.
the?
It was so far left compared to what I was doing, but I was so over scaffolding that I just wanted to do something different. And so basically, the company that I was working for, what we did was we like pumped. So basically, we searched like the grounds that the mines hadn't like mined on, and like we did all these kind of techniques and different things to see what was underground. And to see whether it was worth digging or not. So,
to see if you can find some minerals or whatever it may be.
Yeah, man. So I wasn't a driller or anything. We just used like these, this weird shit. Kind of look like bombs. Fucking
Fancy stuff with big complicated names.
Yeah, man. And like we were in this small town called Georgetown, and it's like, oh man, it's like inland of Townsville, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like an 18-hour drive, and we had to drive up there. And,
God.
And we're up there, and there's one shop, bro, one petrol station. Like they're all in one thing. So one shop, one.
It's a small community when that's the case.
One hardware store, which is in the petrol station. Tim Tams cost like $17, bro.
Bro, you'd be taking small bites for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was one hotel and like I think one street with 4 houses or something, and it was tiny. And we were staying in the hotel, and then I was like, man, I'm so over this. I'd been working for that company for like 8 months, I think. And I was like, maybe I should try something different. And then this ad, like, for this thing called Your Shop came up. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And it's like, oh, we'll teach you to DJ for free. And I was like, oh, well, you got me.
Can't lose from that, man. Yeah, because Your Shop, that's the organisation where they get people on board who might be upcoming DJs and might have an interest in just spinning the decks.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of build your interest and see if you can make a career out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was absolute dog shit. So
I love the honesty, man.
Bro, I was so bad. Like, because I was the one guy who was playing hip hop and everyone else was playing like EDM. So
yeah.
I was the one guy that was like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's different, and that's the only reason people watched. And I'll be honest, I fucking rapped. I freestyled for 3 minutes at the end of my...
Yeah, and how did it go?
Well, I thought the freestyle was pretty cool, but I look back now, it's so fucking cringe, right?
But we all start somewhere, man. Like if you have something and a passion that might lie within you, you don't know how good you'll be at it. You do it the first time. Oh fuck, I was so shit. Honestly, I'm gonna put my hand up and I'm gonna be the first person to say it before someone else calls me out. But that's how we start, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I always tell the people coming up as well, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm not good." And I'm like, "Oh well, it's the start, man." Like
exactly.
That's where everyone begins. You can't just be born great, Like, there's always stages, like early stages at most, where people are just absolute dog shit. But if you keep practicing, that's what I did. I practiced and I did as much as I could to ensure that I would stay in the DJ scene. And it took me a while. I did like over 2 years after my Your Shot set. I did like 16 competitions, never won one. So I lost. You just
persisted, man.
Yeah, I lost all of them, but I got better at DJing. Like the first one I did, and I met one of my best friends, Jackson. Shout out Jackson. That set was absolute dog shit as well. And we were the first 2 to play. So he went first, and then I went after him. And my set was horrible, but he went on to win. And like just watching it made me better. I was like, okay, I can understand where he did better than me, and now I'm gonna practice.
But it's funny you say that, man, because you're probably really, really harsh on yourself.
Yeah.
Like if I were to look at your set, if you had like a video, an audio file I could listen to, it probably wasn't that bad, man. But in comparison to where you are now, to where you started, holy shit, is there a difference?
Yeah,
and I think it's something that we all acknowledge and look at all the time. We overthink in these sort of areas. Yeah. But what I want to ask as well is, what made you make the jump? Because you saw that ad. But how did you make the jump? Because it's so easy to have that idea, man. It's so easy to have that idea.
I actually remember vividly, like back, when was this? 2013, I think it was. Me and my friends were kind of like just fucking around after, like, we had just finished high school, I think. It might have been 2012. We just finished high school and we're just fucking about, and like we watched this after movie of of a festival, some big one in Belgium.
Tomorrowland or something.
Yeah, that's it. Tomorrowland.
The first festival in there has to be Tomorrowland.
Yeah, we watched that and I was like,
so wicked, eh?
Yeah, I was so like, I was caught onto it and I was like, yeah, fuck, that's what I want. I want to be on stage eventually. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it. And my friend Tyson was next to me, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, that's us, bro. We're gonna do it." Like,
let's go.
We kind of like joked about it for years and years, and then it wasn't until like I actually started DJing that he was like, "Oh fuck, bro, you're actually doing it." And I was like, "Yeah, fucking," you know. And I really wanted him at the time to do it, and I didn't want to force him to do anything he didn't want to do. So
of course,
I was just like, "Hey man, if you want to like come over and start up, I'll be here for you." And then just kind of left it up to him. So. Tyson, if you ever make your way over, bro, hurry up because I miss you, man.
Come on, mate, get over here.
Yeah. So, and like even before that, man, I've always had like an interest in music. I love to sing. I love to like try and make beats and all that kind of stuff. Everything I did was kind of music related. Although my dad wasn't like musically like inclined. My mum was more like the singer and all that kind of stuff.
Did your dad kind of look at it like, don't do that, you can't get any career in that sort of area?
I don't think my dad kind of understood like
music.
Like it wasn't until recently like he didn't know what a DJ was. Like,
probably doesn't know what the decks are. Yeah, probably still stuck on the vinyl records.
Oh, I don't even know if he knows what a vinyl record is. Like, he was he calls me now, and like I've been DJing for like 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, it's only like the last year that he's been like, "Oh, you still DJ, man?" I had to explain to him the first time like 3 years ago what a DJ was.
It's the one where they have the headphones on, they start going wicka wicka.
And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I play music like at the pub," and he's like a radio, and I was like, "Yes, exactly."
Yeah, like boombox type.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. And now you've progressed to be where you're at, and you're really comfortable in your sets, and you'd be doing an amazing job, man. I've listened to some of your compilations. They're impressive, honestly. I'm interested to know, because what we're talking about, the topic about when the music stops. You're enjoying the moment, but once it's over, once it's packed up and the nightclubs close at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you're leaving, or you have a day off, and you're stuck in your own thoughts. You did say that you kind of struggle with that process.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So one thing that I found the hardest, and I know a lot of people can relate, but we didn't really have a name for it, was when you finish everything and then like the drive home or like the Uber home is kind of quiet and unsettling, and like thoughts are going through your mind, and you're suddenly like a bit sad, like all the adrenaline has left your body, and you're kind of down and out, and you're just not too sure why. Like I experienced that for way too long, and that's what made me want more, I guess. Like I wanted to always be around people, around loud music, around the drugs, around the drinking and all that kind of stuff. And that became like a bit of an addiction, really. So that weird crash was something that I didn't really understand for a long time.
Would you say that you sort of became reliant on going out and drinking and doing the DJ sets?
100%. Yeah, so I would go out, and like my ex at the time, my girlfriend, my ex at the time, she would be like, "Why are you going out?" And I was like, "Oh, like I need to meet these people, and I need to, like," and part of it was true, but mostly it was like I just didn't want to be home because I didn't want to sit there in silence and think the thoughts that I always do when I'm sitting by myself, because my brain works at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, man. Like, of course, I'll be doing one thing, and oh shit, I got to do this, and oh damn, I need to do that. Like, so yeah, I don't know if it's like ADHD or anything, but like,
just, I mean, because you're the work, the field of work you do, it's always hyper.
Yeah.
You're doing one thing, you're focusing on something, and you want to just continue to get that adrenaline running again.
Yeah. And like I think the struggle of deciding whether I'm successful or not was one of the the major factors as well. Like having to sit there and be like, shit, am I really doing like the best that I can? And you can G yourself up as much as you want. You can be like, yeah, like you're doing really well, like all that kind of stuff. But really, it's always like the doubt that overshadows everything else. So it's like, yeah, but this person's done this, and then like you could have done this, and
it comes back to what do you want versus what is everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Are you happy in that field? And do you want to see yourself doing this for another 20, 30 years? And that's all that matters, man.
Yeah, literally. And like, because I did your shot at like such an older age compared to everyone, it's not that much older. I was like,
how old are you, man?
I was like 23, 24.
Okay, yeah.
But like everyone was like 18 to 21 sort of thing. And now like I'm turning 27 next week. Like I'm old, I'm sorry.
Happy birthday for next week, man.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, so I'm turning, like, I'm getting old. And everyone thinks like, you know, DJing is a young man's game. Like, you can't be keeping up in the spotlight, you know. Like,
oh, not necessarily. Look at Tiesto.
Yeah, I know Tiesto, and then there's like Carl Cox. And,
yeah,
you know,
they're
like,
doing all right.
Yeah, but trying to, I don't know. Like when you glorify something, it's hard to make yourself worth
absolutely.
What you yeah.
And all these thoughts that are perpetuating in your mind when the music's gone and everything's just, you know, mellow and quiet. How do you go through those moments, and how do you get out of that area where you start to see that light at the end of the tunnel, and that, you know, it is what it is, and you kind of have to have that moment of acceptance that you need times just to relax and just to be mellow?
Yeah, I think it was when, man, it was such a bad experience, but it was honestly when my body just started to crash was when I realized. And it wasn't until then that, you know, I didn't really take in that, man, you need breaks. Like, you need holidays, you need time to recuperate and all that kind of stuff. Because I haven't had a holiday in like 4 years.
Man, you need a break, man. Take a bit of annual leave.
5 years, man. Like, the last time I went back to New Zealand was my last holiday, and that was 5 years ago. And this is not me flexing or anything like, oh, you got to work and hustle hard.
Oh, I don't know. It looks like you are.
No, it's purely because I never thought that I was in a position enough to be able to take a break and come back and comfortably slide back into the position I'm in. So like, for a long time I was like, oh man, I just landed these residencies. I don't want to leave and then not be able to come back to them. And it was like, it was doubt and fear that kind of like drove these thoughts, when really I should have just taken the holiday. Because, like, fuck, I gained a lot of weight, and then I kind of like, I just, you know, ran myself into the ground, and like, I'm glad that I'm at where I'm at, but I could have done it at a much better pace, and I could have done it in a state of mind where I could have possibly like elevated my brand to, you know, another level.
Absolutely, and sometimes it actually does. If you do take that break, when you come back to it, it's that refresher that you needed, and you look at things differently.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, sometimes, for example, with your BAO Collective clothing brand, it might have taken you ages to come up with that name.
Yeah.
But if, like, literally, and if you took a couple weeks off and you come back to it and you go, oh, BAO, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Versus just overthinking and over analyzing on something where you know that you need to take a break because you're just hitting a dead end.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like, yeah, just take a damn break. You know? Like, I'm gonna come back to this and be like, yeah, it's about time I take a break.
Absolutely, mate. Listen back to this and listen to yourself on this podcast. Take a bloody break. Yeah. But people listening in who may be going through a similar experience where they're using something as an excuse to not think and feel what they're, you know, internally holding in with themselves. Yeah. What would you tell them to do?
Let go of it.
Let go of it. But what would you call where's the starting process?
Like, the starting process is knowing like what the issue is. It's always like accepting what the issue is, and then I think it's always just taking steps into slowly releasing it. So one issue that I had a lot was I was clinically depressed as well. Like, I got diagnosed and all that kind of stuff, and I was super suicidal for ages, and for a long time I didn't accept that I was. I was like, no, I'm not suicidal. Like, I knew I wanted to neck myself, but at the same time I was like, no, like, I'm fine. I don't need help. And it's like 100% like accepting the fact that, you know, something may be wrong, and then taking smaller steps to correct the action, like going to see, doing simple things like going to a GP and setting up like free counseling. Like, it takes 10 minutes, and I know it's super hard, but it's a small step in the right direction. And then once you do that, it's like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm kind of heading in the right direction now. Absolutely. And now I can like, there's a small like landslide effect that's happening, and it may not seem like it now, but you know, the fucking boulders are slowly rolling down the hill, and now you end up from being a super like suicidal maniac to understanding like how your brain works a little more. And you know, when you go into these little panic attacks, or when you go into these like little depression ports, I call them, and like how to deal with that emotion and how to get yourself out of it, even if it takes 10 minutes or it takes an hour or a day or 2 weeks, just knowing how to get out of it, sort of thing. Yeah.
And when you were in that depression port, as you're saying, how hard was it for you to reach out to other people?
Super hard.
Because I think people struggle with that because they feel they're letting themselves down, and there is that fear of embarrassment and judgment for what you may be going through.
Yeah.
You know, what was that experience like the first time you actually reach out to someone and saying, "Look, I'm really struggling. I actually need some help."
So the first time I reached out was on my own, and it was super hard because no one knew what I was doing, and no one knew what I was experiencing. They knew that like I'd be down and I'd, you know, had mood swings and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't understand that. You know, I was after work every day. I was in the car crying for 2 hours before.
Oh, sorry, man. Sorry, man.
No, but it's fine. Like, because I never shared it with anyone, and like I was like, man, this isn't right. I should go and see someone. So I went and saw my GP, and he like forwarded me onto, you know, onto like a counselor or psychiatrist or whatever you want to call it. And I saw him, and then he was finally like, all right, look, you're pretty messed up in the head. Like, we need to set this straight so then you're not spending every waking moment wanting to die. And yeah, it was hard because I was kind of like the pillar that everyone leaned on, you know. And it's hard to be.
You're the rock.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's hard to be the person people rely on to be happy and to be happy yourself. So you've kind of, you know, and you're kind of lying to yourself at the same time, being like, yeah, no, I'm okay, when really you're dying inside, and people are still like, hey man, I need you to make me happy. You know?
Absolutely.
And it sucks the energy out of you, but it also sucks the happiness out of you as well, because you've got to give your piece of happiness to them, and then they kind of like, they come off that, and then they kind of like, you know, lean on you and expect you to make things better when fuck, you can't even do it within yourself, you know.
Sometimes I think you've got to put yourself first, and
100%.
in that instance, if you're the pillar for many of your mates, family members, loved ones, whoever it may be, as you're saying, it's so difficult to be able to do that. But you've just got to put yourself first sometimes, and it sometimes takes that breaking point of crying in the car, maybe every couple of days a week, to realize, shit, there's something going on, and I can't keep doing this forever.
Yeah, man. Now that I think back to it, man, I wish I did it sooner, because it wasn't until I was about 21 that I got diagnosed.
Wow.
So,
so you're holding it on for how long, man?
Fuck, my whole life, pretty much, man. Yeah.
Jeez.
Like I haven't always been the chirpy, happy dude. Like as a kid, I was real sour, and I hated the world, and from the age of 8, I wanted to kill myself. Like, and the reason I grew out this shitty beard is to hide the scar from me trying to kill myself. So at the age of 8, I tried to stick one of my dad's butchery knives through my throat, and I wimped out the last minute, and I ended up getting my chin instead of, you know, missing. And like the first thing that my dad did, instead of like caring for me when I pulled the blade out, was beat me, because he knew there was going to be like
repercussions.
Yeah.
Wow. And what put you in that place? I mean, it's such a young thing, because it's, you know, at the age of 8, it's hard to understand emotions and feelings.
Yeah. And like, I didn't understand what suicide was, but I knew that I didn't want to be here anymore, you know? And I remember like a couple of years ago that the dwarf kid, I think, sorry if that's rude, but he was, you know, that interview that he did, or like he put out an Instagram story or something like that.
Who's this?
The little, I can't remember his name, the little indigenous kid. And
Yep.
And he didn't, like, he was saying that he didn't want to be around anymore.
The one that was getting bullied at school.
Yeah.
I know the one.
People were like, nah, he's lying. Like, kids can't feel it. Like, they don't understand what suicide is at that age. But I was kind of like quietly just in my head, like, yeah, nah, kids do. Like, they don't understand what the term of suicide is, but they can understand whether they want to be here, you know. And from a young age, since my dad left my mum, I was getting beaten every day. So that was kind of like the driving point behind me not wanting to be on.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you're here, brother.
Thanks,
glad you're here. I'm doing this interview, mate. You're an amazing person. But you're so true. It's funny because even if you say to a kid, hey, I'm going to confiscate such and such toy, a month in advance, they'll be like, where's the toy? They don't forget about things.
No, man.
They never forget. And that's the number one thing. They might not understand their emotions and all that sort of stuff, what's revolving in that bubble.
Yeah.
But they never forget stuff. They have an amazing memory.
They understand the basics of it, man. They get the gist of being happy and being sad. And, like, they understand the presence of someone as well. So, like, growing up, I remember being just like, man, it'd be so much easier if I just wasn't here. And like my dad would always be frustrated, and my mum would always be upset. So I was like, man, maybe it's me. Like, maybe it'd just be easier if I wasn't here. You know?
So you thought you were the reasoning behind the arguments and everything that was going around, happening in the family.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you know how, like, when you grow up, I don't know if you have siblings, man, but like,
I have one. Got a sister.
You know how, like, parents or like aunties and uncles and grandparents always have a favorite?
Yeah.
I was never the favorite for anyone.
Oh, so you thought your siblings were favoritized?
Yeah, man. And like, even growing up, I thought like I was adopted as well because I didn't look like any of my siblings.
True.
Yeah, so like, from a young age, I always thought like I never belonged, sort of thing. So yeah, and it was like, and it just made sense in my head because I was like, man, like my dad really doesn't like me being here, and like my mum, she left my dad, and my dad fed us lies about my mum as well, being like, she doesn't love you, like she left because she doesn't love you. Yeah, and it sucked, but that was kind of like, that was kind of like the thing that was going through my head at the time.
Good, bro, take time.
Yeah, that was kind of like the thing that was going through my head at the time because that's all I kind of understood. So I was like, oh man, it must be me because the issues only kind of arose after I was aware of everything. So
yeah. And for people who might be experiencing the same sort of thing, that they don't belong, that idea of not belonging, how do you find that self-belonging? You know, where did you go from there?
Man, I think it was just kind of finding myself. So,
find yourself.
Yeah, and it took a really long time, but like it wasn't until recent, man, that I kind of discovered who I really was, and it took a while, but you know, you have to go through those phases where you kind of like test the waters for everything.
Of course.
And like I was always like, after I had been done, like when I found like a decent set of friends, and I was starting to like be a bit happier, a bit chirpier, you know, I kind of became attention seeking, like real typical fucking year 9.
Mate, nothing wrong with that.
Bro. I'm so
little cheeky flex here and there.
Yeah, man. But I was always like the fat ugly kid. So like, I don't know why I was trying, bro.
Bit of a Augustus gloop, mate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just man.
I doubt it, mate. Doubt it.
No. I was never the ladies' man or anything. So. I cringe about everything from like year 9 to year 13. I don't want to hear about it. But, yeah.
No, wasn't into the lovey-dovey sort of, what was it? What's that Ryan Gosling movie? The Notebook? Any of that sort of stuff?
No, like, so I got my first girlfriend when I was like, my first proper girlfriend when I was like 15, 16.
Oy.
Yeah, man, and she's gorgeous. Georgina was her name, so shout out Georgina. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, she was lovely. She was amazing. She taught me a lot of stuff outside of what I could learn from, like, you know, being surrounded by Pacific Islanders all the time. So I think that was like a big learning curve for me. Like seeing how, you know, the other side lives, sort of thing. Because she wasn't rich or anything, but their family were comfortable. So it was cool to be in an environment where, you know, money wasn't constantly an issue, where, you know, you lived in a nice warm house. You have beds and all that kind of stuff.
So different.
Yeah. Man.
Different vibe.
So it wasn't much of a change, but it was a big enough change for me to be like, shit, like, the way we're living isn't really good. So
do you think that the closest friends that you surround yourself around, you end up, whether you like it or not, you end up mirror imaging some of their
100%.
traits,
100%.
even if it's negative?
Yeah, 100%. You're influenced so much by your environment. So if you, like, I try and, like, explain this as much as I can to, like, my younger nephews and nieces so they can catch on. Like if your friend is a shit person, like, you're going to be a shit person. Like, even if you're, like you're nice now, you're going to pick up shit traits because they're going to influence you more than you're going to influence them. And it's so bad.
It's like going to a foreign country. Say you're living in England, and if you're there for 4 or 5 years, you'll start to pronounce certain words the way they would.
Yeah, and like if your environment is poisonous, man, you're about to be poisoned. So, but you've also got to be careful that you're not the one influencing the environment around you as well. So
absolutely.
Sometimes you're the plant, and sometimes you're the fucking sun. So you've got to just make sure that whether you're influencing your environment more than you're being influenced, or the other way. So yeah, just be careful.
And what does the future hold for Bowdy? And what was the DJ name? I was going to try and pronounce it, but I'm probably going to fuck it up.
No, it's Bowdy, but I just tried to be tricky and just add an X in there so people will be like, huh.
Oi, that's pretty
like,
smart.
Like, oh, huh, how do you pronounce it?
But yeah, where does the future lie for your DJing career?
The future lies for my DJ career, man. I don't. To be quite honest, I don't really know if it's going to be lasting any much longer as just a DJ. But hopefully, I move into more like music making and then more creative stuff, man. I'd really love to keep working on this on the clothing line. Sorry, excuse me. The clothing line, doing other creative stuff as well, because I really love art. And,
cool. What sort of art, man? Like.
I'm real into like graffiti, man. Yeah, graffiti is my favorite kind of thing, and like, I do like a bit of abstract. I don't quite understand a lot of it, but I'm learning. So, I really love art and I really love music as well. But I don't think this old man can stay the front.
You can't see yourself doing one last hurrah in Ibiza.
Oh man, I can try. Yeah, but we'll see if this old man can keep up. But
mate, I'll be there. I'll be there right at the front row.
No, I'm not too sure. Hey, I'm kind of just taking it as it comes, man. Because especially with this whole like COVID stuff, it's super unpredictable. So
yeah, I was gonna say specifically for your field with COVID, how are you coping with work?
Work is the easiest part to cope with, man. I think it's everything that comes with COVID that is the hardest part, and it's hard seeing, people bicker over whether they get vaccinated or not, and all that kind of stuff, and it's whether to believe the government or not, and all that kind of fucking bullshit.
All that jazz.
Yeah, but to me, I'm just like, just do whatever you want and just shut up. Because it's hard, man. And the first issue I had was the whole Black Lives Matter movement last year, and it was hard seeing people, disagree with it in a sense where they think race isn't an issue. And I'm not going to go into the topic about it, but it's hard, especially when you come from a background like I did. We, things were highly like influenced by race. And it was clear as day to see, like, the school I went to was a decile 1, which is like there's a 10 decile rating, and that all depends on how well your school performs, and that's purely just off the profit that the people like that living in that little community make.
Yeah.
So your school could be a decile 10 and they get more money from the government because the parents make more money, where like a lot more of the money should be going to the schools that need it. It
doesn't make any sense, does it?
It makes no sense, but whatever. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just live in a very opinionated world, and I think, like you're saying, sometimes people just need to learn to zip the mouth. Everyone has their own opinion, but it's the way you voice it, and you've got to voice it to the right people. Yeah. What's the point of trying to upset someone when you know for a fact that their opinion on something's never going to change? Yeah. You know what I mean?
And like, it was heartbreaking to see like people that I thought I considered friends, being like, nah, race isn't an issue. It's just something that we have, and it's not a problem here in Australia, and it was heartbreaking to see, because it's like, man, it's not an issue to you. Like, fuck, I had to change my name for fucking CVs, bro, so I could get interviews. Really? Yeah, no one wants to fucking hire Mato tier or Mata'u tier. You know, people would rather fucking hire a John or a Peter.
Did you want to keep the name, or would you change it to try and be more modernized in the way of being more stable and trying to find a new place to work?
No, I just changed my last name to fucking because my nana's German. I changed my last name to my nana's last name so I get job interviews because there'd be jobs that I'd apply for and they wouldn't call me back until I used my nana's last name.
Seriously?
Yeah, man. So,
is it because they've already painted a picture of your background, community, and...
Yeah, well, no one wants, you know, it all depends on the field as well. And
then it comes back to race, what you're saying.
Yeah, because when you picture, like when you say an Islander's last name, you just picture like a 6'4" fucking footy bloke, you know?
Yeah, who runs it straight.
Yeah, man. And it's you know, fucking heartbreaking doing that kind of stuff, but it's annoying, but it's also, you know, it's what happens, and there isn't really much you can do as one person, but when the more people understand that it's going on, the more the slow change happens, sort of thing.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Yeah. It's a hard process. I think it's going to take quite some time, but
oh man, it'll take ages.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with mental health. Like as you were saying, you've bottled up all these things and experiences and scenarios that you've been through, because it's so hard to get comfortable in talking about it. Because a lot of people shrug and shy away from it, and that's why. You know, I'm proud of you for talking about this, man. You know, this is the first time we've been talking. We're getting along really well. I think we're really relatable in trying to make a difference in the world and just being open about this sort of stuff.
100%.
And I think the more people that can do this, you know, the more people like you who can reach out and just say, hey, I've struggled. This is what I've experienced. The better the world can be.
100%, man. 100%.
Thanks so much for joining, brother. Honestly, you know, again, I've said it again. I'm proud of you for talking about it. It's not an easy topic to talk about, but
it's all good.
You know, you probably come away out of this feeling like a weight of bricks is lifted off your shoulder.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a bit of weight's been lifted off my shoulders and all kind of stuff. But yeah, no,
we're not talking barbells or anything.
No. Just I just think definitely. Especially to the Pacific Islanders or the Brown brothers and people that come from backgrounds where, you know, the parents have always just put their head down and just worked and hustled. Definitely talk about your feelings, man. Go and see someone. You get 10 free sessions a year when you go and see a GP to be referred to someone, so go and use them up as much as you can. And then they reset every financial year.
That's great.
So be sure
good.
Be sure to fucking use as much as you can.
And it's funny because probably a lot of people don't actually know that.
No, I put it on my story once and someone's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I didn't know that was the thing. And I was like, yeah, man, go and suss it. And they sent me a message like 2 weeks later being like, hey, bro, I booked my first session. I'm so thankful that you put it on your story. And I'm
exactly
like,
right.
Man, anything to help people out. And I always do my best to try and, you know, donate to causes and like push, you know, people towards you know, other causes that can help them in the near future, like a lot of like domestic violence places that can help out, and like women refugees and all that kind of stuff. Like I try and do my best to not over promote to make it seem like I want to be the shining star, but just, you know, enough to help people.
That's great, man. That's so good. Honestly,
I always hate when people are like, "Oh, you need to do this," when
really the big-headed side of them's coming out.
Yeah, when it's like, man, I've never experienced it again. You know, I've never experienced it, but it's something that needs to be done and needs to be told, and not be like, praise me because I told you to go there.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean.
Man, there's so many people that are like that.
Oh yeah.
Try to play the superhero card or the god card, and it's like, man.
You sure you don't have the cape on, mate? So, in going on with your line of work, so how can people snag a shirt or a jumper? Or...
I didn't want to come on here.
No, preach away, mate. Preach away.
All right, so so you can grab a jumper over at our website, www.baocollective.com.au, BAO for BAO. And I think soon, I put it up on my story the other day, and I wanted to do like a little competition where we would have our followers design a piece of merch, and a percentage of that merch will be donated to their charity of choice. So we're going to be running that soon, I think, and I'd love for everyone to get, you know, part of it.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go. And have you got any upcoming shows that?
Oh man, yeah. So This coming Sunday, actually, we'll be playing. Oh, me and Tao, not as BAO, but as our, because we play bass music as BAO, and then separately we play hip hop. So
nice.
We'll be playing the R&B takeover for the yacht club. I don't know if you've ever been on.
Yeah.
So it's just a private yacht. You buy tickets and we just go and party, man. So be there. And then we've got. So I'm up in Townsville. So if you're in Townsville on the 11th of September, come say hi, man. I'm playing at the bank. Just gonna be, having a few drinks and enjoying myself. So.
I might have to take that drive down.
Mate, come through.
Bit of a party time.
Yeah,
I'm keen.
Time. And then after that, we've just got our biggest one. After that is the Mecca races that have been.
Oh yes.
Yeah, man.
Loving the Mecca races.
Yeah, so we're on the main stage. I'm not too sure what time we'll be on yet, but after Odd Mob and Young Franco do their thing, we'll be on.
Playing a bit of Promiscuous and Jenny from the Block.
No, we're on the main stage playing as BAO, so we'll be playing something a bit heavier than that.
Love it.
Yeah, so.
Nah, but honestly, man, congratulations for where you've been to where you are now. You've done an amazing job.
Oh, thank you, bro.
And
appreciate it.
I swear to God, even if you don't feel like you have, people listening in, you've inspired people. Absolutely. And it only takes one person. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Starts the chain.
Thanks again for joining, man.
All good, man.
This has been Season 3, Episode 3 of Couch in the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. And today I've had Bowdy, and we were going over the topic of when the music stops. And as always, if you need anything, reach out to me on the Facebook page, the Couch in the Mind Facebook page, and I'll leave Bowdy's Bowdy's Instagram and other social media feeds in the link below. Anyways, catch you later.
Cheers.